Most dog owners have experienced it at least once. Their dog meets someone new and something shifts. The body stiffens, the tail stops, the eyes track differently, and the dog, who is friendly with virtually everyone, wants nothing to do with this particular person. And you have probably wondered, do they know something I do not? Is this instinct or anxiety? Is my dog picking up on something real or just being unpredictable? The science has been working on this question, and what it has found is more specific, more fascinating, and more worth paying attention to than most people realize. What dogs are actually reading. Before we get into the research, we need to establish what dogs are working with when they assess a person, because the sensory information available to a dog during a human interaction is categorically different from what is available to us. A dog's nose contains approximately 300 million olfactory receptors compared to our 6 million. Their hearing range extends well beyond ours in both frequency and sensitivity, and their capacity to read human body language, micro expressions, postural shifts, movement patterns, breathing changes has been shaped by 15,000 years of living in extraordinarily close proximity to people. When your dog meets someone new, they are not making a judgment based on appearance or social impression. They are processing a layered stream of physiological, behavioral, and chemical information that the person cannot control and cannot fake. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, has a detectable sense signature. Adrenaline changes the chemical composition of sweat in ways that are imperceptible to humans, but well within the detection threshold of a dog's olfactory system. Micro movements of the face and body that precede aggression, deception, or threat are processed by dogs at a speed and resolution that human conscious awareness cannot match. Your dog is not judging a person, they are reading them. And the data they have access to is significantly richer than anything available to you. Most people walk into a room and form a social impression. Your dog walks into the same room and receives a physiological report. The Unreliable Helper Study. One of the most direct pieces of research on this topic comes from a series of studies examining how dogs respond to people who behave deceptively or unhelpfully toward their owners. In a study published in the journal Animal Cognition, researchers had dog owners ask two strangers for help, one who helped willingly and one who refused or behaved in an obstructive way. The dogs observed these interactions from a neutral position. Afterward, both strangers offered the dogs treats. The result was consistent and striking. Dogs significantly avoided accepting treats from the person who had been unhelpful or obstructive to their owner. They were not responding to how the stranger treated them directly. They were responding to how the stranger had treated the person they were bonded to. This is a sophisticated social evaluation. The dog was not simply reacting to aggression directed at themselves. They were monitoring a social interaction, assessing the behavior of a third party toward their attachment figure, and updating their trust assessment of that individual accordingly. What makes this finding particularly significant is what it implies about the dog's cognitive process. They held the observed interaction in memory, formed an evaluation of the person based on it, and then acted on that evaluation in a completely separate context. The food offering. That is not a simple stimulus response. That is social reasoning applied across time and context. That is not instinct in the simple sense. That is social cognition operating at a level most owners never give their dog credit for. The Deception Studies. A separate line of research examined how dogs respond to humans who deliberately mislead them. In these studies, a person pointed to a container with food in it, reliably, repeatedly, building the dog's trust. Then the same person began pointing to empty containers. Dogs stopped following the cues of the unreliable pointer significantly faster than they stopped following reliable ones. But the more interesting finding was in the recovery. When the unreliable person subsequently pointed accurately again, dogs were slower to re-engage and showed persistent behavioral wariness even after correct pointing resumed. The trust, once violated, did not simply reset. This tells us something important. Dogs are not just reading individual interactions in isolation. They are building reputational models of people over time. A person who has been deceptive once is a person the dog continues to assess with elevated scrutiny, not indefinitely, but with a meaningful and measurable lag before trust is restored. They are tracking your consistency, and inconsistency leaves a mark that does not disappear simply because the behavior improves. The dog remembers, and they adjust their engagement accordingly until the evidence convinces them otherwise. What body language tells them that we miss research? On Canine reading of human body language has documented capabilities that consistently exceed what most owners expect. Dogs can distinguish genuine smiles from social smiles, the kind humans produce to manage impressions based on subtle differences in facial muscle movement. They can identify fear, anger, and discomfort in human faces, even when those faces belong to strangers they have never encountered before. And they integrate facial expression with body posture and movement to form a composite read of a person's internal state that is more accurate than most humans manage consciously. A person who is presenting calmly on the surface but carrying underlying aggression, hostility, or deceptive intent is producing a set of physiological and postural signals that are invisible to other humans but legible to a dog. The forced relaxation of someone trying to appear non-threatening. The micro-tension in the jaw and shoulders of someone managing suppressed emotion. The breathing pattern of someone whose internal state does not match their external presentation. Dogs do not need to consciously analyze these signals. They process them automatically, continuously below the level of deliberate attention. The result is a felt read of a person that is closer to a direct physiological assessment than a social judgment. And it happens within seconds of meeting someone, faster than any conscious human evaluation could form. What the cortisol connection means, the chemical dimension of this is the piece that most directly answers the original question. Can a dog smell a bad person? The more precise answer is that a dog can smell a person's physiological state, and physiological states correlate with behavioral and moral patterns in ways that are not random. A person who is habitually aggressive, chronically deceptive, or carrying significant unresolved hostility tends to have a baseline cortisol and adrenaline profile that reflects those patterns. The body keeps score, and it keeps score chemically in ways that are detectable by an animal with 300 million olfactory receptors. This does not mean dogs have a moral sensor. They do not smell evil. What they smell is the biochemical signature of a nervous system that is chronically activated, suppressing something or operating in a state of sustained threat readiness. And they respond to that signature with the same wariness they would bring to any stimulus their nervous system reads as potentially dangerous. The person who makes your dog immediately uncomfortable may not have done anything overtly threatening, but their body may be telling a story that their behavior is not yet telling. And your dog is reading the body first, the behavior second, and forming their assessment from the combination of both, not from either one alone. When your dog is wrong, it is worth being honest about the limits here, because the picture is not entirely clean. Dogs can be wrong. A dog that has had negative experiences with a specific type of person, a particular build, a particular movement pattern, a particular voice register, may generalize that wariness to people who share those characteristics without sharing the underlying threat. A dog that was handled roughly by men with beards is not detecting something real about every bearded man they subsequently distrust. They are pattern matching from a traumatic data point. The wariness is real. The threat assessment is not accurate. Anxiety also produces false positives. A dog whose baseline threat detection system is chronically overactivated through early trauma, through chronic stress, through inadequate socialization, will produce wariness responses that have more to do with their internal state than with anything real about the person in front of them. So the honest answer to whether you should always trust your dog's read of a person is nuanced. A dog with a stable, well-socialized baseline who shows specific, unusual wariness toward a specific individual, that signal is worth taking seriously. It is data. It is not proof, but it is data from a sensory system significantly more sophisticated than your own in several meaningful dimensions. A dog that is frequently wary of new people generally is telling you more about their own anxiety than about the people they are reacting to. Know your dog's baseline. Use their signal as information, not as verdict. Your dog is not judging people the way you do. They are reading them, chemically, physically, behaviorally. They will not always be right, but they are never guessing. Drop a comment. I read every single one. Subscribe. New video every week. See you next time.